All right, welcome to the session today. So this is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be starting to think about the Inktober 2024 plan. Like I've talked about in some of my prior videos, it's important, at least for me, to think about these things before I dive in. I have done Inktober in the past, where I've just started, taking each prompt as its own thing and then moving forward, and that's fine. If this is your first time doing it, I would encourage you at least to take a look at the prompts and start kind of chewing on them before you dive in. But I like to put them together into something. I found last year in particular that it was really fun to think about how each of the prompts could connect to the character and the story that I was telling. And that made the journey a lot more enjoyable for me. So I'm going to start today just by taking a look at the first couple prompts and try to think about how I can use them. The first thing is we are going to be following a character like we did last year. And her name is Andorra. She is, well, for lack of a better term, she is a witch. I don't know that she actually is a witch, but, that can be something that we chew on a little bit later as well. So let's see, I haven't drawn her in a while, so let's see how I can put her together here. You'll notice I am sketching with ballpoint. That is almost always what I do my free sketching with. I love the way that ballpoint feels. I might start doing some in pencil again, but we shall see. I never 100% know what to do with her neck, and that's one of the best reasons for working on Inktober is it gives the opportunity to focus on the same kinds of things day in and day out. And so I found, at least for me, I tend to get better at those things. Just like working on all the dragons through Smogist, I got better at drawing dragons, better at creature design. And because the dragon prompts were often quite specific, I got a chance to practice drawing arthropods, and I got a chance to practice all these other things. I often forget that I'm going to have her hand out doing a thing until after I've already sketched pieces, which is, again, a good reason to sketch things ahead of time, because then when I go to do the final version, I actually remember what I need to include. So this is a very simple version of Andorra, this cute little witch wizardy girl. And this is not my favorite version of her, but it will work for the purposes of today, because I haven't sketched her much lately. I'll be revisiting some of the drawings of her from the past, and I'm sure I will do kind of a couple character passes and make sure I know which way I want to work on her this year. But this is her in a nutshell. So she's got her pointy hat. She's got two braids coming down the side, along with really long hair, kind of some poofs. Up here, her hair is red, though this is not colored, and that's just fine. She almost always has her staff, which sometimes will have light shining out from inside of it. There was a funny accident when she was a kid. Well, I guess she's still a kid here, where she actually she did something funky to her staff and it now emits light. She just has to tap it, almost like a lamp that you could have on your nightstand. Like, she can tap it and it emits light. So that'll be kind of a fun plot point. So this is the character through which I'm going to tell the story. And loosely, this is going to be loosely this is going to be telling a story that I want to put in a children's book. So ideally, these drawings will be, at the very least, the low resolution versions of the final drawings. Excuse me. And at best, they will actually be usable for that text. So I have outlined a little bit of what I want the story to tell. And at a very basic level, it's going to be, introducing the character and her city, which is called Spirik. And it's going to be her getting into just shenanigans at first. There's going to be a scene where we get to see how her staff gets its powers. And then she's going to eventually go under the city and she's going to find this kind of primordial clock is what it looks like. It was from a prompt that we did on the Discord server at one point, but it's a giant underground device that she stumbles upon. And it's got, let's say this is her, and she's got her staff. It's this giant device, and there's all these runes on it. And she starts then going on a little adventure around her city to figure out how to unlock each of these runes. And she gets all of it except for one, and then she's searching for a long time trying to figure out that one. She is in a class at one point, some kind of ceremony in kind of the church in town, and realizes that that symbol is behind the altar up on the wall. She manages to get that symbol, take it down, activate the clock. Something goes wrong, and she ends up teleported into a vast underground world. And she wakes up in the dark, and then she is going to have to figure out where she is, how to get home, what's going on. She's going to meet a whole bunch of creatures and funny things. I've done drawings of that part before. If you've seen any of the old podcasts where there's this big, underground area covered in mushrooms and things like that, that's kind of the area that she comes out into. So that's very loosely the story that I want to tell. And I don't exactly know how she's going to get back. And as I plotted out the pages, I've realized this is going to be a really long children's book. If this is a children's book, it's already looking like it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 80 pages. Originally, I had intended for it to be more like 20 or 30. I don't know if there's a way to reduce it. I don't know if this is going to be more of a graphic novel type of thing. But we'll see. This is the story that I want to tell. And once I've drawn it out and told it, we'll see how things go. I don't know that I'll be doing dialogue for this journey as I'm working on the sketches, but I am certainly going to be thinking about how these are going to be plotted on a page. So I will pick the size that I'm going to do for the book, which I would imagine is going to be rectangular. So I'm going to be thinking about things in terms of spreads like this. So a couple of the drawings will probably be 2-page spreads. A couple of the drawings will be single page, but there'll also be a lot of things like this, where there'll be an image, an image, an image, dialogue like this. And then maybe over here is just a massive full scale image. So as I'm starting to think through the prompts, I'm starting to think about, how they're going to impact all that. And that's why I unpacked the whole story, is because this gives you an idea of how I'm thinking about it, the scope and scale of what I'm trying to do, and how those pieces are going to fit together. Sorry, a little sniffly this morning. So that just informs how I'm approaching it. That doesn't mean you should approach it that way. In fact, I think you should take it pretty easy if you're attacking these for the first time. But if you're feeling ambitious, or it's, a couple years into your process, it might be kind of fun to try to figure out how to line all of them up. So the first thing is, you don't have to do the prompts in order. I am going to take a look at the first couple prompts and just see if I can batch them, if I can think of them. So the first prompt is backpack, which is going to be easy for me because there's going to be a scene with Andorra later on where she is going to have to suit up to go into the underground. So the backpack is really going to be, her putting on a backpack. So I'm going to convert to cursive because that's what I actually write in. And then the second prompt is discover. So obviously that's going to be finding the clock. And then we've got boots. So I'm going to devise a symbol here. I'm going to do a full square is going to be a full piece. These are going to be partial pieces. So the backpack and the boots are going to be just, the boots might literally be her simply pulling up a boot. I might do something like this where it's literally just I hate drawing shoes. I'm so bad at it. It'd be good practice though. It might literally be her leg going in and then her arms coming down and grasping on to the boot to pull it on. You know, might even get some motion lines or something where she's literally pulling her boots on. That might literally be the whole drawing for that. So I might take 10, 15 minutes to do the sketch, and the drawing itself might only take that much time too. The next is exotic. I'm also not a very good speller, so if I mess things up, my bad. I don't know what exotic is going to be. Probably underground and insect. Yeah, let's do like her running into like some cool insect thing. So, like very surprised. You can still see. No, we can't see that. Dang it. Let me move things. Sorry for those last couple seconds of not being able to see things. Okay, so this might be her, you know, and she's, yeah, arms coming up this way, the second joint. She's reaching out, and maybe it's some really weird kind of butterfly type of thing. And she's just like, whoa, this is cool. You know, and holding her staff down here. You'll notice these sketches are like super loose. This is how I do a lot of my base level planning for things like this. Very simple sketches. The second stage after that will be to actually put it inside of a box, because I do most of these drawings inside of squares or rectangles, and then I'll kind of plot it out from there. So exotic is probably going to be finding this underground insect. So that's also, I'm going to do that as a half piece, because that might take up, you know, a whole page, something like this space. All right, the next on that list is binoculars. And this is actually one that I talked about in one of my other videos about Inktober this year. This is a very particular term. Binoculars have to do with a particular kind of technology that we can use. And I don't know how I'm going to fit that in, because this is going to be a fantasy setting. So binoculars, I don't know at this point, and I'm not going to chew on it right now. At least I don't think I am. So binoculars could be, like I mentioned earlier on one of the other videos, it could be binocular vision. It could be something that looks like binoculars. Maybe it could be a telescope, but telescope and binoculars are fundamentally different. So let's jump to another page here and let's think about this. You know, binoculars at a very base level are going to be a pair of cylinders adjoined with something in the middle, and then eyepieces back there that are kind of reducing in size and shape. Generally, they have glass of some kind. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess you could have a scene where, you know, she's looking out at, that's going to be her head, so dress is going to come down this way, where she's looking out at a giant, you know, maybe this is the remains of a giant pair of binoculars or something, and she's looking out over this vast expanse. Maybe this one is over here, but it's like shattered, you know, and maybe the lens is kind of hanging out in the ground. This one's, you know, broken, and maybe this is a big staff that's kind of holding them up. Maybe even little supports that are holding these things together. Her arms are going up and holding onto it. So like something like that might work, where Andora's trying to look through this, and maybe in the background we've got something really crazy or cool, or maybe there's a floating city or something. Maybe it's one of the big beasts. Maybe we're still underground. We've got the stalactites and stalagmites. Stalactites hold tightly to the ceiling. I know it's tight. And then might. I don't know if it's a GH. I'm not very good at spelling, so stalactite might be T-I-T-E. It might be T-I-G-H-T. I'm not sure. But I think it's stalactites hang tightly to the ceiling. Stalagmites climb mightily from the floor. That's how I remember it, at least. So this might be kind of what I do for binoculars. I'm not 100% sure, but it would be a solution that would function, that would work. The next one is trek. So I've been talking to a couple people on my Discord server, and I think for words like trek, hike, I'm just looking over at these prompts, which are on a different screen, and drive, and expedition, spelling. Yeah, those seem to be all the ones that are almost synonymous. Drive obviously could be like desire or ambition, but these 4 in particular, I'm going to think about how they are particular, how they are different. You know, roam is probably going to be her roaming around underground. Expedition is going to likely be where she was putting on the backpack to go downstairs. Well, it kind of is downstairs. She's going into the underground underneath her city, going on an expedition. Hike is going to be climbing something really big, which will be fun. That'll be a drawing similar to one I did last year, where it's just her climbing up this crazy expanse of stairs. Trek is probably pretty similar to hike, but it's going to be over land this way instead of land this way. That's going much more vertically. So I am going to think about those. But trek is our 6th prompt. So I'll think about how I'm going to do that. These ones are easily going to fit in because this is travel themed. So the next one after that, though, number 7, is passport. And I might have to do some research to see if passports are just the thing that I know them as, which is the object that gets you from one location to another. It's the formal, declaration of I am going from this place to this place. I belong here. I have a U.S. passport, so when I go to Iceland or, any other country, Iceland's just my favorite to visit, I need to have my passport. It lets me get into that country. It lets me get back into my own country. I don't know if there's another definition for this word. If that's the only definition for this word, then I'm going to have to really think about how that might fit in. This might be one of the few ones that I might not be able to find a solution for. So if you have a solution for how I can use passport, I would love to hear it. That would be really beneficial. But this might be one that I flip out that I switch out. So don't feel bad if you have to, flip a couple of these into different things. The whole point of Inktober really is to be working on a long-term project, either the execution of all these drawings or or something like I'm doing where they're all tying in together. So sorry, lost my train of thought for a second. So 8 is actually hike. We talked about that. That'll be probably her walking up a big expanse of stairs at some point. So that one's pretty easy to think about. And I'm probably only going to plan through 10 today just to basically share my process and then also really honestly just start thinking about them because I haven't thought about them except for the story that I articulated at the beginning. 9 is sun. Oh, goodness. So most of this story is going to be trapped underground. I think I can do sun as a rune on that clock. So we can have the primordial clock underground that she's finding, and maybe the top rune can be like a sun rune, and maybe she has to like capture a drop of the sun in order to unlock it. That would be kind of cool to actually have it be where she has to collect all these things. So I'm going to write that. Collect things to open clock, drop of sun. Because that'll just be kind of whimsical and fun. Like, how do you get a drop of the sun? Well, it's a wizard town. Like, she can probably find a way to do it. And then probably that's going to be placed on it or placed before it, and that will give the ability to unlock that rune. If it's wedged like this, I wonder if that means all the other runes are underground. Probably not. We'll probably do something like if the whole thing was excavated, maybe it would be only a half, not a half sphere, but a half circle. So you could have something like this, or maybe this could be its true form. It does actually have a circle in the middle. I don't remember how many runes it has, or maybe I didn't ever figure that out, but I'll check my notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That has 9. I like 9. 9's a good number. So this looks a little bit like a Stargate almost. And that actually kind of is what it is. It's a portal of some kind. There's a bunch of these that exist in this continent, in this planet, that get you from location to location. And generally, they are synced to a particular place. Maybe some of the really old advanced ones can actually teleport you to multiple locations, but this is technology that has been lost. This is probably the Canary civilization or the people from Adoran, the continent that was sunk before people came over to Nether Void. So yeah, I like that. So that's fun. So we'll have a couple things to do with Sun, because we'll have one drawing that is finding the piece, the second that is offering it up to the clock. So I guess that's just 2, maybe 3. Transporting, like if we do a 1.5, transporting it would be kind of fun. Shoving it into a a jar would be a lot of fun. So you got a scene like this maybe, where there's a jar and there's a piece of the sun kind of shining out. Maybe this is like the side of a table and Andora's just like peeking up over it. Not sure, if what she did is going to work. Maybe she's concerned. Right here she looks kind of like feisty, like she's stealing it. And maybe that is what she's doing. You can get her fingers kind of coming up here. That's going to be like the number one thing for me to practice this Inktober is going to be fingers. So maybe she's looking at the piece of sun. So I might be able to do a couple pieces that way. And it's very possible too, as I'm trying to tell this story, that I won't necessarily complete all of the pieces in the book. That I'm going to, do the sun piece, and maybe that's getting the drop of sun, and then I'm going to come back to this later and going to, fill in with some little pieces like this. We'll see. The goal is to have all the drawings for it done by the end of the year. So, and right now we're at September 5 when I'm recording this. So what is prompt 10? Nomadic. Okay, I have the idea for this, but I don't have the visuals yet. It's going to be nomadic beings. Oh, that's a bad spelling. In the Underdark. So it's going to be like, I like the idea of them riding something. So you've got like a, maybe a pack animal of some kind. Make it something kind of strange. Maybe it's got 6 legs, and there are these, packs on there, and there are these little dudes with fancy hats riding it, and maybe, maybe they're like Jawas, where we just see the single glowing eye. That'd be kind of cool. Kind of something like a poncho. And maybe they have lanterns. Maybe they're bird-like. But still hats. Because hats are fun. So these are going to be like the nomadic people, I think, who are going to be a group that Andorra runs into, because there's whole civilizations down here. I suppose it would be really lame because there's a civilization in here called the Canary people, and maybe that's actually not their name. That's just what people in the modern day call them because they don't know it or don't remember it. But that would be kind of funny for the bird people to be the Canary people. So. But that's my initial thought with the first 10 prompts of Inktober this year. So mostly I just hope that this gives you a little bit of insight into how I plan. Hopefully this will be something that will help you as you're planning and you're thinking about it. And if you're intimidated by the process, I hope that this will help dismantle that a little bit, help it be something that feels a little bit more manageable. And I think I'll come back and I'll do some planning for the next 10, and then we'll do the final 11 in another little video. And I'll just walk you through my plans as I'm doing those things. And then probably we'll do some sketches. So I would love to hear in the comments if you have any better ideas for some of these, especially if you know anything about what I might be able to do for Passport, the difference between a trek and a hike, or any of these little sketching ideas that are your favorites. Well, have a good one, y'all. See you soon.